Hi, everybody in Research Methods, Psych 290. Today's, or I should say this week's chapter, is correlation. This is a good one because many of you are going to do this for your paper. This is an example here of a real survey that a student did, and I'm going to show you how he did correlation. And actually, he did a lot more than that, but a lot of you are doing correlations for either one or for perhaps both of your hypotheses. So let me show you this survey. I hope you'll find this as interesting as I do. I really enjoy when I learn from my students because usually it's supposed to be them learning from me. But I had a student from another country. He had only been in the US for a year, and he asked me if he could do his paper on the attitude people have toward rap therapy. And I said, what? And he said in his country, he learned that it's very common in inner cities when you're trying to engage teenagers and other ages of people, but mainly teenagers, into therapy, counseling, that you get them to write a rap about how they feel. And I said, that's cool. I wasn't even familiar with that. It totally makes sense, but it's not something that I was familiar with. So I told him, you'll see here, that if he's going to do a survey on that, he needs to write a definition on there because there's got to be other people like me who weren't familiar with it. So let's go through what he did. First of all, male versus female, that would be an independent t-test, wouldn't it? That is not what we're going to talk about today, even though I think I recall that he did an independent t-test with his survey results. Second thing is, I believe that he did something with this as well. He had three possibilities of race. He wanted to do more, but I told him, now limit it. Do you consider yourself black, white, Caucasian, or other? If he wanted to do all three together, that would be a nova. But he could just do black versus white, or black versus other, Caucasian versus other, whatever. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the two correlations. You assume that everyone is part of the same group, and what you do is correlate the results. So here are two correlations. Asking people, how many years of school do you have? Starting with kindergarten, first grade would be your second year of school, so on and so forth. So by the time you graduate from high school, that's your 13th year of school. So obviously this is a person here who has 2 years of college and is 24 years old. If you correlate all of that with the person's survey score, you have a multiple regression. But again, that's not what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about their survey score of a 42 and correlate that with the person's age. How does a 42 correlate with on the survey with the person's age of 24? But wait a minute. How does their score of 42 correlate with their years of education? So we have two different correlations here. Maybe I could make this a little smaller. There we go, if you can still see it. So we're going to correlate age with the survey score, education with the survey score. Two separate correlations. So it's going to take a little bit of time to do two correlations, just like we practiced previously with t-tests. You could do more than one of those too if your survey allows it. So here's another one. I think this is similar to one we addressed already. 6 questions of a Likert scale from 1 to 9. You don't have to do it that way, but it's a good way to give an example here. This is a good survey because a 9 on all of these questions means, yeah, rap therapy is for me, it's cool, I could see doing it, I think it's helpful. Whereas a 1 on every question, you are against it, it's not for you, it's not helpful. So let's look briefly here at all 10 people who participated. A 24-year-old who has in the 15th year of schooling for them, got a 42, self-scoring, of course. You rate yourself. Here's someone who's young. Look, a 13-year-old, only 7 years of education. So that person's what, a 6th grader? Wow, that person has a high score. There's a 39-year-old, maybe didn't even finish high school, only 12 years of education, kindergarten plus 11 years, kind of a low score, so on and so forth. A 28-year-old, 10 years of education. So I'm going to scroll through these real quick for you to see. This will be part of your lab. I'm going to do the first one for you, but I want you to do the second one so that you can, oh, look at this. This person didn't even put their age, did they? Do the second one so that you can see what the person's score would be, or each person's score, I guess, and add them all up. Let me put this one in here for you. It's a 25-year-old. Can't believe I did the PDF without that, a 25-year-old, okay? So make sure you watch the video carefully so that you know where to put that in. That was a mistake by not doing that for you ahead of time. So moving right along, got all the scores here. Let me pop up this here. Do you see how I put them in here? Age and their score on the survey, and then education, score on the survey, 2 separate correlations. Do you have to start with an Excel spreadsheet? The answer is no. But if you do, you are going to be so much happier. Let me bring this up a little bit so you can see. This is what we are going to be doing in here. So you'll see in just a minute here how we are going to do this. But first of all, what I am going to do is pick up all of these scores, age versus their score on my survey. See if I can do that again. If not, I might have to move. No, that might just work. Move the little box here away from it. Then I'm going to pull up Vassar stats. Now look, let me bring this over here just a little bit for you. Correlation, scroll down, and linear correlation. We're going to try to look for a line, a straight line. Do I want to directly enter all my numbers? I could, but guess what? I just saved myself some time by putting it on an Excel spreadsheet and copying those numbers. So I'm going to do the data import version. I'll scroll down and data entry. Didn't I just copy it from Excel? I can paste it right here. How cool is that? Now, calculate. Let's see what my R and R square are. That sounded weird, didn't it? R, right here. This is not a very big R. 0.3297, a correlation of negative 0.33. So what we found is a slightly negative tendency of one variable going up and the other one going down just slightly. Not really, though. That's a very small correlation. Remember R squared, the coefficient of determination? What percentage of one can you explain or predict by knowing the other factor? And the answer is less than 11%. So that is a weak negative correlation. When one factor's up, the other one is slightly down. When one factor is down, the other one is slightly up. So I definitely want to report these two numbers in my paper and maybe even in my table. So, speaking of tables, let's minimize this. And remember I highlighted these already? In fact, I can just do it again just to show you. Highlighting all the scores, age versus survey score. So there's a slight tendency that the older you get, the less you're into this rap therapy. And the younger you are, the more you're into it. That's not a surprise, right? Rap is really a young person's kind of music. Not always, but quite often. So look what I'm going to do here. Follow my cursor. Charts. This one here, insert, the one with the dots, scatter plot. Bam, look at that. Are you seeing here any real strong pattern regression line? Positive, I'm not seeing that. Negative, yes, slightly. I see a slight negative trend here, don't you? Not really, but just a slight one. So that makes sense to me that it's a slightly negative correlation, not a big negative one, just a slight one. Now, that should make you happy that you already have your data in the Excel spreadsheet. And then I showed you how to do a chart for this, that you just pull it down from inside, insert here, and pick the dots. But here's another thing that'll make your paper even easier. Watch this. I am going to... No, let me see if it lets me do it now. Copy, finally, third time's a charm. And now let's pretend here is my research paper that I'm going to turn in for Scott's Research Methods class. I copied it, and all I have to do here is paste. There it is. That is one step closer to me being able to turn in my paper. How exciting is that, huh? What were the numbers? R is point, I'm going to round, 33 and 0.11. So I might even put that in here. R equals, what was it, negative 0.33? I think it was negative, wasn't it? So I'm going to put negative 0.33, and then I forgot how to do the symbol for R square, so I'm going to be lazy and just put in the word square here. Equals, round it off, 11%, right? Rounding it. If I know one variable, I can predict or explain 11% of the other variable. That means 89% of it is not accounted for because I did not explain or predict the other 89% because it's a weak negative correlation. Now, for the lab assignment, can you do the other one here? Let's see what you come up with and turn into me. It might just be a little bit of a surprise, but I don't want to give that away yet. So what you have here is age and the person's survey score. We could even put that word if you wanted to. Survey score of acceptance of RAP therapy, and it's a correlation. So get rid of this here. And you need to go back to the data, person's education, how many years of schooling do they have, and their score on the survey. Should I leave it up there for a minute in case you don't want to go back to the original surveys? And I want you to enter these numbers in an Excel spreadsheet just like this. Pick them all up, copy them, or I should say highlight all of them, insert. What are you going to insert? This chart right here, the scatter, the dots, and you're going to put it in a format so that you can explain it to me and show me. You don't have to show me your picture, although you could, and attach it if you want. That would be an easy way. Or you could just explain it if you want. But also, what is the R and what is the R squared? That's what I want to know. So I hope this is a good learning experience for you and you will be ready to use this kind of thing, Vassar Stats, Word, and Excel for your own paper. That's it for this one. Don't forget to do the lab. Take care.